What's up, guys? Matt here, coming at you with another quick video. So I've had a lot of people asking about installing this Surpass motor, and so I don't have another complete setup yet to do an install video, so I just pulled mine out of here. So that's how dedicated I am. All right, I just yanked my stuff out and redo it. So we're going to take this Jeep. The motor's dead in it anyways, so I'm kind of going to take it apart and show you step by step, hopefully as much as I can. I wish I had all the parts here to pull them out of the package and all that to show you, but I think we can get it done with this. So your motor's dead, or you want to replace it or whatever. So while that's out here, I don't know. So here I'm going to have to pull my battery tray. It's just easier to get in and out, get to everything you need. So just pull the tray out of the way. And then when you go to putting all this stuff back, you're just going to have to figure out how you want to set things up. Where you want your ESC, where you want your battery tray, because it totally changes the setup. And you'll see why. So there's 4 screws there. Pretty easy to see, I believe. That'll just come out, throw it out of the way. Like I said, it's going to change the layout of pretty much everything. So your ESC tray probably have 4 screws in it here somewhere. Pull those. And yours will be laid out a little different. I have my shocks at a crazy angle on my Jeep here, but they just seem to work. These are the aluminum CR24 shocks. Had a lot of people ask about them too, and I just really like them on this Jeep. So that's all free. Just unplug the motor, get everything out of your way. Look at that. All right. So there's let's see, there's 1 screw on top right here. You'll see it goes down into the skid plate. I don't know if you can actually see it on camera, but 1 screw there. And then these 2 here on the bottom. So I'll pull those. Pretty much all of these screws are the same, besides when you get down to the screws that mount your motor on here are different. I think everything else is pretty much the same. I had some long ones going through my shocks. So if you have anything oddly placed like I did, they may be different, but so once you do that, that'll come right out. Just those 2 screws in the bottom, the one through this little hole through the top, going into the skid. So now you have a skeleton. So this setup right here, all you're going to do when you get your motor mount, now this is actually not the new Gamy RC 2FMRC motor mount. This is an old revolver mount I've made work, so yours will be better. I had to put some spacers in here to space this out a bit, really to keep this nut from hitting the motor, and then I had to trim this out to fit the pinion. Depends what pinion you run. You may have to do some cutting or whatever. You can see I notched that out, but you can make it work. So we're going to take this apart, because I want to give you the full effect. And I got like 2 misplaced screws. This thing's kind of crazy, but I put it together with leftover stuff. So whatever worked. And these are the 2, I think they were 3 by 12 millimeter screws that I was I've been saying you need to mount the motor. And you can see I had the spacers in there. You shouldn't need those. So you're going to take this apart, because this is what your stock setup's going to look like. So you're going to want to pull all of this apart. Now some of these screws are longer than the others, like this had a long screw in it. You can see why. But it's fairly easy to tell which ones need longer screws. See, those are shorter. You can tell that doesn't need a long screw in it. So this cover is going to come off. You're going to have this. All right. Really, you're not going to need the motor, pinion, or this plate. So you're going to have to take the drive shaft off. All right, so if your drive shaft's like mine, I started turning the screw and it wouldn't back out. I had to take another wrench and push, a small one, and push a little bit on it to get the threads to kind of catch, and that way it would come out. So now we are down to, need to pull the spur off. If you have one of these wheel wrenches from RC 4-wheel drive, the stamped steel wheels come with them, I know. Fits this perfect. Or whatever wrench you're using for your wheel nuts should fit it if you're running stock wheel nuts. Now this spur, the only reason I'm going to tell you, we're not going to use this spur, but the hot racing one or the shapeways one is the same way. It's a little deeper on one side, more flat on the other. So you want the side that has the overhang here will be down. It fits down inside there basically against that bearing like. So one side is a little more flat than the other. You want that side up. And then where's my tool? So we need to take these two screws here, so that's going to let us pull all this transmission basically off. And then you're just left with your motor and motor plate. You can set those aside. So then you're going to mount this up to your new motor mount plate here. So you can see all I've did is mounted this up just like this. So you're just going to put it right back into this motor mount just like that. You can see that's what I have here. Okay. So put that into your new motor mount. And then you're not going to have your drive shaft on there. Then you're going to have your spur gear that you got either from Shapeways, or this is the Hot Racing 0.5 mod spur gear. So whichever one you were able to get a hold of. The Hot Racing is kind of hard to get right now, so I linked the one on Shapeways in there as well. Put it on. When you tighten this down, you don't want to tighten it real tight, just slightly, okay? And then you should be able to turn this nice and smooth. You can see I've got a little bit of grease on here just because it seemed to smoothen it out a little bit. So you're going to be left with this once you mount this up to your new motor mount. Just like that. Drive shaft goes on this. The spur is on this. Okay. I'm not going to pull all that apart because hopefully that's easy enough to see. I'm going to show it real well so you can tell which way that is. Your spur gear is going to sit down in the little offset part on the mount, not on this side. Won't work. Alright. So then you're going to put your drive shaft back on and everything so that you're sitting just like this. Now you're going to want to put your motor on. Your motor, more than likely you're going to have to put your pinion on. I'm running this one backwards, you can see. You just kind of have to set it up in there and see what's going to line up. To find the holes that you're going to use to mount it, line them up with these. Okay, and that has some left to right adjustment, so you can just slide it in like that to set your mesh. So pretty simple. This is where it's kind of harder for me here because I've got to run the spacers in here. The new mount, you won't have to do that. Gamy RC straightened it out for this motor. I was using this original mount here and had to do all these mods to it, and that's why he made the new mount. So you won't have to do all this stuff. Okay, after fighting and screaming at this thing, I got the washers in there. Like I said, you won't have to do that. So much easier to just line a couple of screws up. Once you get it in there, you can see I'm not turning the pinion at all. So you want to just don't tighten it all the way down and just roll this around to where your pinion lightly matches up with your spur gear. And you get a smooth mesh in there, okay? You just want to make sure it turns nice and smooth. There's no binding. And without the drive shaft hitting, we're good. So then you want to try to hold that the best you can so that motor doesn't move when you tighten these screws down. Pretty good. A little tight. Should work though. You can see when you turn the motor, it's turning everything pretty smooth. So, alright, so once that's all mounted back up like it is, you got to pay attention when you're doing that where your wires are. Also, you don't want to try to mount your motor with your wires sticking down. I left mine off to the side like that. I kind of like so they're not on the very top sticking way up. Okay, so then all there is putting this back together, and this is not gonna go into this truck the way I have it because I took it out of this one with different drive shafts. So I'm gonna switch to this truck now. Same thing. I left the battery tray in here. Let's turn it this way so you can see it easier. Okay, so we have same thing. We're just switching trucks because I'm not going to change these drive shafts and everything. I'm going to put it right back in this one. So you're going to go motor front, forward, okay? And whenever you put these drive shafts in, you want to make sure they're in phase. And maybe you know what that is, maybe you don't. So you see how this is like a C, backward C. You want to make sure when you put this into the other side that the C on it lines up with this. So make sure kind of like this tab is lined up with the other one. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Whoa. So when you put this together, you want this to line up with this. See there? So basically you can look at the pin here, and here. So you want those to go together like that, okay? As close as you can get it. That's not wanting to go in there because it's not made for it. This is the hot racing. So aluminum one. But anyways, you want to make it like that. You don't want this to be turned this way and off, because it just gives a out of balance type. You'll get more noise and more vibration, that sort of thing. So when you line these up, do both sides, front and rear, line them up, like I said, make sure they're phased. Okay, and then you're going to put your screws back in. So I'm going to try to get this to line up. Okay, so it's pretty well lined up. Hopefully they don't come apart on you 15 times like it normally does me. Set this thing in there and keep a hand on it so it don't come apart, because it sucks trying to line those back up. If you can get it to rest in there, you can get you a screw and start this one in the top so that you know it's not going to just flop out on you and lose all your work. Lining these drive shafts up is probably my least favorite part of the whole process. I'll put these screws back in the bottom. This is really pretty simple install. Okay, now that's all in, so you can put all your stuff back. Now, like I said, you're just going to have to figure out where you want your ESC and your battery and all that. It's kind of a pain to fit it all back in there. You can see on this truck I'm running my receiver up front. It just worked best that way. You're going to have these 3 wires coming from the ESC. So this is the Hobbywing 18 amp ESC I was showing. It don't really matter how these are connected. If you get it on there and the motor's turning backwards, you can switch any 2 of these and it'll fix it. Or you can change your reverse the channel on your remote to flip it around, whatever's easiest for you. So that line that connects straight up out of the box. You will have to solder on a battery lead to this ESC. So you can see here I cut off the thing it came with, and I put this connector on just because that's what I run on most of these. And figure out where you're going to put everything. That's one of the hardest parts. And you're all connected. So let me fire this thing up and I'll show you what we're going to go through next. Alright, so then you're going to connect the ESC to your program card and switch it on. And then really you're going to want to get your manual to follow along. Depending on what program card you have, it may not be right. So running mode right now, running mode number 1, we're on rock crawler, which is setting 3, value 3. So you'll use your manual to go by, not this down here. So if we go to number 2, item 2, on here is drag brake force. It's on value 3, which is what it comes set on, okay, 10%. And then you can go through all of this and just change it to whatever you're liking, basically. Or you can just plug it in and try it. But when you're done with everything, just hit the OK, that way it saves it. And then you can plug it in to your channel 2. and you're good to go. I got to turn it off because I don't have my transmitter on. And then it's just basically a matter of tucking your wires away and figuring out where you're going to put your on-off switch and battery and all that stuff. I hope this helps. It's not the greatest install video. I'm not very good at install videos. I'm usually just a tester, and I test things and tell you if it works or not. I'm sure somebody else could probably do a much better install video, but hopefully this will help out. Maybe clear up a few questions people had. I've had people asking me over and over, just wasn't sure how it went. You can see it's pretty easy install. Just make sure you put all your screws back in. I didn't put my battery tray back. And you're pretty much set. Only thing you really have to solder is the battery connector. Motor hooks straight to the ESC, and that goes in fairly simple. You've seen there. So let me know if you need any help. I'll always trying to answer messages, but I thought maybe this would help out a bit, so everybody could kind of see what you're taking out, what you're putting in. So if you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell so you get notified when I'm posting these videos, and don't forget about the Facebook and Instagram page, 2FMRC. Appreciate everybody. Peace.